picture this. It's the pitch black, early morning hours of February 1st.
Right in the dead of winter.
Exactly. And you are standing in the Catalina foothills of Tucson, Arizona. It's this sprawling landscape, older homes set deep into these massive, isolated desert lots.
It gets incredibly dark out there.
Oh, it really does. You're surrounded by dense cacti, thick brush, and you are miles away from the city lights. The darkness is just absolute.
Yeah, that heavy kind of silence.
Right. But on this particular morning, at the home of Nancy Guthrie, who is, she's an older, vulnerable woman, and the mother of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie, that silence has been violently shattered.
It's just a horrifying scene.
It is. You walk up to the front porch, and the Nest's surveillance camera has been ripped completely off its mount. Wires are just hanging there exposed, and right there on the cold concrete, there are fresh droplets of blood.
I mean, that is a terrifying visual. It's the physical remnants of a nightmare left right on the doorstep,
Yeah.
When you encounter a scene like that, every single investigative instinct screams that a violent struggle just took place. But, I have to warn you, right from the start. As we unravel this timeline today, you're going to quickly realize that nothing in this case is exactly as it seems.
Not at all. So today, we're pulling you in as the third investigator in the room. You're going to want to eliminate all distractions for this deep dive.
Absolutely, you need to focus for this one.
We are stepping into a real-time, active criminal investigation into the abduction of Nancy Guthrie. Our mission is to make sense of a timeline that honestly defies basic logic.
It really does.
We're going to examine these bizarre ransom demands, unpack some truly baffling police missteps on the ground, and ultimately look at a terrifying new criminal framework that kind of explains how modern extortions are being executed today.
And we are doing this with 6 months of just agonizing silence currently hanging over the case. I mean, there are no arrests, no clear answers. It's just an incredibly complex puzzle where the physical evidence on the ground and the digital evidence, up in the ether, they seem like they belong to two completely different crimes.
Yeah, it's wild. Because, okay, if you want to solve a crime, you have to secure the scene.
Right.
It's the most fundamental rule of an investigation.
Absolutely. You lock it down.
You lock it down. You log every person who steps over the tape. You preserve the environment. But the physical investigation at Nancy's house, it almost immediately went off the rails.
It's honestly hard to comprehend.
It really is. Just days into this massive kidnapping case, the Pima County Sheriff's Department, the PCSD, they bafflingly just released this scene.
Which is unheard of.
I know. They gave reporters and civilians the green light to walk right up to that driveway.
Yeah.
We were talking mere feet from the blood evidence on the porch.
Yeah, releasing a scene that early, especially while a victim is still missing and the full scope of the crime is completely unknown, I mean, that is a massive operational failure. You have to think about the fundamental rule of forensics Locard's exchange principle.
Right.
It basically states that every time a person enters an environment, they bring something in and they take something away. Dust, fibers, DNA.
So by letting media crews and curious onlookers trample all over that driveway, the area becomes hopelessly contaminated.
Hopelessly. If a suspect is ever arrested, a defense attorney will completely dismantle the integrity of that scene in a court of law, and simply because the police failed to protect it.
It feels like having a highly sensitive, corrupted hard drive full of ransomware, and instead of isolating it, you just let a dozen strangers randomly overwrite the data sectors.
That's a great way to put it.
You can never get the original code back.
Yeah.
But, I mean, why does an agency make a fundamental error like that in the middle of a high-profile case?
Well, it often comes down to a lack of experience with these complex hybrid crimes, and that gets compounded by severe interagency friction.
Ah, right, the turf war.
Exactly. Behind the scenes, the local sheriff's department and the FBI were locked in this jurisdictional battle. The FBI wanted to take the reins, while the local authorities wanted to maintain control of a high-profile case in their own backyard.
Yeah, and you can see this tension so clearly in how they handled the evidence.
Oh, absolutely.
The PCSD insisted on sending crucial DNA samples to a private lab in Florida. But the FBI, meanwhile, they were demanding the evidence go to their premier lab in Quantico. But wait, if the FBI has a premier state-of-the-art lab at Quantico, why would the local police insist on sending it to a private lab in Florida?
It's really a matter of speed versus depth. Private labs can sometimes turn around a basic DNA profile faster just because they don't have the massive backlog of a federal agency.
It's okay, that makes sense.
Right, but Quantico has far superior technology for complex mixtures, like separating touch DNA from multiple people who might have, say, bumped into a door frame.
Wow.
So by arguing over where to send it, they were just delaying the processing of the absolute most critical evidence they had.
And the sloppy evidence handling, it wasn't just confined to the lab. On the ground, it was totally chaotic.
Complete chaos.
During the grid searches, a black glove was found about 2 miles away from Nancy's house. So they tested it, hoping for a break, but it matched a local restaurant worker who had absolutely nothing to do with it.
A total dead end.
Yeah, a dead end. But meanwhile, back at the actual crime scene, investigators were literally throwing their own used gloves, like the blue ones, the black ones, onto the ground while they were working.
I still can't believe that.
They were essentially creating a scavenger hunt, mixing their own trash with potential evidence left by the kidnapper.
It paints a really clear picture of an investigation buckling under immense public and media pressure. And, the local leadership's response to that pressure was incredibly telling.
Oh, it was. We are about a week into one of the most heavily scrutinized investigations in the country. The local news stations in Arizona, they have a strict 10 p.m. nightly broadcast.
Yeah.
So at 9:50 p.m., a reporting team sends Sheriff Chris Nanos a text message. They're just trying to clarify where the DNA evidence is actually being sent so they can report the facts accurately to an anxious public.
Which is their job.
Exactly. The sheriff's response, he texts back, and I quote, "Did you happen to notice the time? Give it a rest."
It is a staggering response. I mean, the victim's family is not resting. The community is terrified. And while this defensive back and forth is happening with the press, the actions taken by the deputies on the ground were equally chaotic.
Right, because Nancy is out there somewhere. And in the middle of this, the sheriff's department temporarily detained 3 local residents.
Just scooped them up.
Yeah, they pulled in a DoorDash driver named Carlos, who lived an hour away, and a mother-son pair who lived much closer, Mary and Luke Daly. The public court of opinion instantly went wild, obviously tearing into these people online.
Of course.
But all 3 were subsequently released with zero explanation from the police. No press conference clearing their names, no context as to why they were detained, just grabbed and let go.
You see, when law enforcement operates without transparency, it creates a vacuum. And that vacuum always gets filled with public panic.
Yeah, 100%.
The physical investigation was flailing, they were chasing shadows and detaining locals. But while the authorities were struggling in the desert dirt, a highly sophisticated digital trail suddenly emerged. And this trail proved, with chilling certainty, that this was a targeted abduction.
So the physical scene is a mess. But then, this ghost appears in the machine. Just days after Nancy vanished, a ransom note surfaces. But it doesn't go to the police.
Nope.
It gets sent to an anonymous tip line at a local news station, and it arrives via an encrypted jot form. Okay, pause for a second. What exactly is a jot form in this context, and why use it?
Right, so a jot form is essentially just an online web form, like a survey or a contact page you might fill out on any basic website.
Oh.
But in this case, the sender used an encrypted version that was routed through anonymous networks. When they hit submit on that form, their internet traffic wasn't coming directly from their computer to the news station.
So it was hidden.
Exactly. It was bounced across multiple servers around the world. It's a technique called IP bouncing. It masks their physical location entirely.
Wow.
So to the news station servers, the message might look like it originated in Switzerland, and then Russia, and then Brazil. It makes the sender virtually untraceable.
And the contents of this untraceable note, they were incredibly direct. It opened with just 2 words, "Hello, Savannah."
That direct address changes everything. It snaps the entire motive right into focus.
It wasn't random.
Exactly. The target was never Nancy herself. The target was Savannah Guthrie's wealth. Shortly before the abduction, Savannah had actually filmed a highly publicized hometown segment for the Today Show.
Oh, right. I remember that.
The broadcast showed her and Nancy walking around Tucson eating at El Charro, which is a famous local restaurant.
Wow.
They talked openly about Nancy's quiet life in the desert.
So they basically advertised it.
Yeah, that segment unknowingly painted a massive target on Nancy's back. It showcased a wealthy, high-profile figure with a deep connection to a vulnerable relative living in a remote area.
The kidnapper laid out very strict demands. They wanted millions of dollars in Bitcoin. They set 2 hard deadlines, a Thursday at 5 p.m. and a Monday at 5 p.m.
Very specific.
Very. They explicitly stated they would hold Nancy for a maximum of 7 days and promised a safe drop-off back in Tucson within 12 hours of the deposit. But what forces the FBI to take this seriously is the proof of life they included.
Right. The author of the note described two highly specific things. First, a white smartwatch sitting on the floor of Nancy's bedroom.
Okay.
And second, a destroyed floodlight in the backyard. The police had intentionally held those details back from the public. Only the abductor and the investigators standing inside that house knew those facts.
So that validates the threat immediately.
Instantly.
But there's a glaring anomaly in that note that we need to look at. The kidnapper demanded millions in Bitcoin, right? But they specifically requested the valuation be calculated in USD. Why would they write that?
And it's so strange.
I mean, if this is an American criminal operating in Arizona, promising a drop-off in Tucson, US dollars is the default. You don't need to specify USD if you live here.
That phrasing is a massive red flag for investigators. Linguistic anomalies like that are often the first major crack in a digital extortionist's facade.
Interesting.
Unnecessarily specifying USD strongly suggests the person typing that note operates in a multi-currency environment. It hints that the author of this highly sophisticated IP-bouncing ransom note might not actually be in the United States.
Which makes no sense initially, because we have video of the guy at the house.
Right, we literally see him.
On February 10th, the FBI finally releases the missing Nest Cam footage, and we come face-to-face with the person who actually stepped onto that porch. The internet immediately dubbed him Porch Guy.
It is a deeply unsettling piece of footage, because it captures the exact moment the crime begins.
It really is chilling. You see this man wearing a ski mask, carrying a backpack, staring right into the lens of the camera.
But his actions are so bizarre.
They are. He is holding a piece of shrubbery, like a literal branch of desert brush. He's awkwardly trying to hide his face behind it, or maybe he's using it to pry the camera off the mount.
It's hard to tell.
Whatever he's attempting, he's fumbling, it's clumsy, the camera goes black. And then, a short time later, Nancy's pacemaker disconnects.
And that pacemaker disconnecting is the most crucial piece of technical evidence in the entire timeline. Modern pacemakers aren't just standalone devices. They are connected health monitors.
Right.
They frequently communicate with a base station next to the patient's bed via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, which then logs the heart data to a medical server.
So it's constantly pinging.
Yes. When Nancy was taken from the home, she was separated from that base station. The data flow ceased. It grounds this digital ghost story in a very grim physical reality. Nancy had a serious health condition. She was incredibly frail and could barely walk without assistance.
But looking at the video of Porch Guy, I have to challenge this whole criminal mastermind narrative. If this crew is sophisticated enough to use encrypted jot forms, bounce IP addresses across the globe, and manage untraceable Bitcoin wallets, why is the guy on the physical scene clumsily fumbling with a bush?
It's a great question.
It is like hiring a brilliant, state-sponsored cybersecurity hacker who suddenly decides to go rob a physical bank using a plastic squirt gun. The digital sophistication and the physical sloppiness just do not match.
They don't match at all. And that glaring disconnect between the digital extortion and the physical abduction is the vital clue. The sheer mismatch in competence directly explains the tragedy that followed.
So we have a clumsy abduction on night one. How does the person writing the emails react when the physical plan clearly goes off the rails?
Well, we saw it happen.
Right, because a few days later, a second message arrives. Savannah Guthrie had been posting desperate pleas on social media. She publicly offered over $1 million just for proof of life, or simply to bring her mother's remains home.
Just heartbreaking.
Yeah. A tiny test deposit was even made into the kidnapper's Bitcoin wallet to initiate a dialogue. But when ransom note number 2 lands, the tone is entirely shifted.
It is a devastating message. The demands are gone. The tone is sterile, cold, and almost apologetic. The note reads, and I quote, "We did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical conditions. She perished shortly after. She is buried in nature now."
Buried in nature now. It's such a strange, haunting phrase. Is it possible Note 2 is just a bluff? Like, could the kidnappers be lying about her dying just to cut ties and force the FBI to back off the investigation?
Investigators definitely have to consider that, but you have to cross-reference the note with the medical telemetry. The pacemaker data ceased on night 1.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Connect the sudden loss of that medical signal with the phrase, "she perished shortly after," and the conclusion is near certain. Nancy's frail heart likely could not withstand the terror and physical strain of the abduction. She likely passed away almost immediately.
That is just awful.
It is. What was planned as a highly coordinated, multi-million-dollar ransom plot instantly devolved into a panicked cover-up in the desert.
To make sense of all these contradictory pieces, the USD glitch, the strange perished phrasing, the brilliant digital encryption paired with a guy fumbling with a bush, we really have to look at a terrifying modern framework. Seasoned investigator Lisa Miller proposed a theory for this case that ties it all together. She calls it the evolved wrench attack.
It is a brilliant way to frame the evidence. In cybersecurity, a standard wrench attack is a brute force physical crime used to steal digital assets.
Like physically attacking someone.
Exactly. Instead of trying to hack your complicated crypto password through a computer, a criminal just hits you with a wrench until you physically hand the password over. It bridges the digital and physical worlds through violence.
But this case is an evolved version of that.
Right. It's evolved because they didn't target the person with the assets. Savannah Guthrie is surrounded by security in New York.
She's insulated.
Yeah. Instead, the criminals targeted her vulnerable, stationary relative living in a remote location, applying maximum emotional leverage to extract the digital currency.
And the core of Miller's theory is that this was never a single crew. It's the two-actor theory. Actor number one is the mastermind. This person is sitting safely overseas, highly sophisticated, protected by layers of encryption.
Untouchable, basically.
Pretty much. This is the entity who wrote the ransom notes. That perfectly explains the strange phrasing, USD, perished, buried in nature. The mastermind was likely running their demands through translation software to write the emails in English.
Which perfectly explains the digital footprint. And actor number two is the local actor, Porch Guy. He is entirely separate from the digital side of the operation.
So they don't even really know each other?
Likely not. He's just hired muscle. A low-level contractor recruited locally in southern Arizona, or maybe just across the border in Mexico. He was given a date, an address, and paid a flat fee to do the physical grab.
It is a terrifying reality of modern crime. It's basically a decentralized kidnapping franchise. You have a CEO sitting thousands of miles away managing the digital demands in the crypto wallets, while a local contractor completely botches the physical job on the ground.
It is the absolute darkest application of the gig economy. When Nancy tragically died on night one, the entire business model collapsed. The local muscle, Porch Guy, he panics. He has a deceased victim he wasn't prepared for.
Right.
He buries her remains somewhere in the vast desert and goes into hiding to save himself.
Meanwhile, the mastermind realizes their asset is gone. But they're sitting safely in another country, completely shielded from U.S. extradition laws. So the mastermind sends Note 2 to officially sever the connection. Not just to cut ties with the Guthrie family, but to burn the bridge with the botched operation entirely. She's buried in nature now. End of transaction.
Which leads to a horrifying realization for the authorities. Because this crime is decentralized, the mastermind overseas likely has absolutely no idea where Nancy's remains actually are.
That's chilling.
And Porch Guy, hiding out locally, might not even know the true identity of the phantom who hired him online. They are completely insulated from one another.
Which drops us right back into the present day. 6 months of absolute silence. The Bitcoin wallet has not moved a single cent. There are no arrests. The authorities have a mixed DNA sample from inside Nancy's house, but they are still trying to isolate the profiles.
Yeah, that's a slow process.
It is. They want to use genetic genealogy, but deconvoluting mixed DNA takes months, and that's assuming the suspect even has a relative in a commercial database.
Looking objectively at the state of the investigation, there are really only 4 paths forward. Path 1, the mastermind overseas gets greedy, assumes they can still manipulate the family for the reward money, and reopens digital communications, which could give the FBI a new vector to trace.
Okay.
Path 2, the DNA genealogy eventually separates a clean profile and identifies Porch Guy. Path 3, the massive $1 million reward money, eventually tempts an accomplice or a confidant of Porch Guy to snitch.
Or Path 4. And given the geography of southern Arizona, this honestly feels like the most likely scenario. A hiker or someone out exploring the endless desert trails simply stumbles upon the area where she was buried.
It is a highly sobering reality to confront. As you process all these details, I want to leave you with this thought. We live our lives out loud online. We share our hometowns, we post our favorite local restaurants, and we celebrate our love for our families.
We all do it.
But in a hyper-connected, decentralized world, your digital footprint and your success can inadvertently place a physical target on the back of your most vulnerable loved ones. A target placed there by a phantom, sitting in the dark thousands of miles away.
Wow. It fundamentally changes how you view every piece of information you put into the world. Thank you for joining us at the table as the third investigator today. Keep questioning the narratives around you, look closely at the mechanisms behind the headlines, and remember that pitch-black desert landscape. Because out there, somewhere, the truth is still waiting to be found.